Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of Force of Will News. Once again, there was no Q&A this week, so we sort of curated what news there was. I'll go over the couple main points, and then I decided for this episode to sort of go over the new CR rule updates so you guys are aware of those going forward as well into the new cluster. So we'll go ahead and dive right into here. So the first sort of big announcement was we found out that ARG is coming back. As you guys remember in our previous Force of Will news, we had found out that ARG was dropping Force of Will, which is a big deal because they are what run most of the tournaments and different things like that around the US. So they announced that they are coming back. They had talked with the head of Force of Will and basically bartered in world invites is one of the big things, as well as more prize support. They said in the form of art for playmats, promos, different things like that. And they said there will be more news regarding it coming, going forward, but for now, that's what we know right now. So that's good news. I was kind of iffy about what was going on there. And I mean, not too iffy because I just assumed Force of Will wanted to put something under their own umbrella as far as a tournament structure. But it's really cool that ARG is back in swinging. Another announcement is that Architects, the card game that Force of Will was coming out with that was going to be released in November, was pushed back to next year. I forget when exactly, I think it was March or something like that. But just so you guys are aware, I was actually really looking forward to Architects. I don't know if I would get into it, but I was looking forward to it more than Casters. I haven't played it yet, but it seemed really interesting. I wasn't able to go to Gen Con. DMO73 was there and told me that he actually enjoyed both of the games. It's very interesting. He said Architects is more, there's no like quick cast type of structure in it. It's more like Pokemon where you take your turn and the other person takes their turn, which is interesting. That's actually one thing I kind of liked about Pokemon, because you could sort of relax and take your turn, but it does take away a lot of the sort of cool chain reactions that Force of Will has. But I'm still really curious about it, but now I gotta wait even longer to get really into it. We did have someone, I think it was Italy, release the actual video of the booster box. I'll have it right here so you can sort of see what it actually looks like in real life. Last week, I think it was, we showed the designs of what it looks like rendered, but here's it in real life, and it's pretty cool. I really like the look of it, especially with that photo on the front of it and everything. So depending on the booster box you get, I'd assume it could have different photos. Even if not, it's still cool looking. And you can see how it might be able to store cards and stuff by the layout of it. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, that was the main amount of news. The biggest thing was, of course, the CR update. So we're going to get into that. So the first thing was they added basic typing to magic stones and rulers, J rulers. So basic typing. So before we just had magic stones and special magic stones, and I can't remember if it was assumed that they were basic magic stones or if they were just called magic stones. But now, in case you guys hadn't seen, on the basic magic stones going forward, they say basic on it. And so it's an actual typing now, which will help clear things up, especially with different card effects. And that'll be something that says it's going to be applying to some J rulers as well. I'm not sure what that could involve as far as J rulers, but it might be the draft rulers we will be seeing. It might be basic. That way they're not don't have to worry about balancing out and accidentally creating an effect that makes the draft ruler strong or something like that. I'd assume. I don't know though. A big thing is the game now has just one big field. So before you had your field and your opponent's field. Now it's just one giant field. And the new terminology is you have this one giant field and you either control cards or your opponent controls cards on this one large field. And the entire CR was updated with this language, both to correct past cards, so cards that refer to your opponent's field. Now the CR reflects that they refer to cards your opponent controls that are on the field. So it's kind of interesting. I assume that'll help make things a little bit more streamlined and easier going forward. Help clarify things, especially like cards that have enter field effects. And you play a Valentina resonator that grabs a resonator your opponent controls and brings it to your side of the field. Obviously, it won't have an enter field effect because it's all just one field. It didn't have it before, but this better clarifies theme interactions such as that. So I think that's an all in all positive. And it's no longer any reference to the playground or the play area or anything like that. Now, all cards that are in this field, this giant field, both of yours and your opponents, are referred to as entities. So I believe this refers to both resonators and additions. Anything that's on the field itself are entities. So this will further clarify things. So I assume this will be for things like if you have, well, I could be wrong now because there's not a separate place for magic stones. My first thought was for field clearing, where they no longer would have to use the word, you know, destroy everything except for magic stones and stuff like that. They could just say clear all entities. But there's no separate area for magic stones that I'm aware of. Oh no, there is. So yeah, that might be one of the reasons. It sounds like it's just redesignate. It's just cleaning stuff up a lot of the complications. Now it's just, you know, you don't have your field and your opponent's field. You don't have all these different typings. You could just say entities. You can say field, and it's a lot cleaner, I think, at the end of the day. It designated the item area, which goes in the bottom corner, and this is not only where gems go, produced by mostly pandas, but it's also going to be where your energized will coins will go. So those are items as well that go in the item area. Whether that has any significance really, or if it's just sort of convenience, I'm not sure yet. If there's going to be some sort of item destruction in the future, that would be interesting, because it could mean you could destroy energized tokens as well, if they ever introduce that. But I don't know if that could be something they could introduce, but we'll see. A big thing, and I'm sure you guys have seen this because everyone's talking about it, is how you go first. So from this point forward, before, for the most part, people would just roll, and whoever rolled the highest would choose if they wanted to go first or second. Now the new ruling is it's random who goes first. So the easiest way to do this is you both roll, and whoever rolls the highest has to go first. They don't have a choice, they just go first. From that point forward, if you lose, you get to choose if you want to go first or second. But that first turn in that round, you do not get a choice. If you win the random toss, you have to go first. So that's really interesting. I think it helps a lot. And once again, with the streamlining of different things, helps it go a little bit quicker. And for me, I have trouble making decisions sometimes, so I like it. It went into detail on how gems and weather work, so just random things that you guys probably already assumed, but like you have to choose one of the 5 attributes for the gem. You can't choose a no attribute when you're choosing a gem. You have to, for weather, it works the way you think it does. If it just is whatever weather you want it to be when it's designated to be. If 2 weathers are competing on a chase, whatever resolves the last is the dominating weather, just how you would assume it would work. It goes into detail defining how mobilize works, and what mobilize was with those golems that work with the light J ruler. And once again, it's just what we'd assume, so they can't attack or defend unless you pay the cost or mobilize them. And it's just pretty straightforward on that. And it went into detail on the sealed items. So sealed items is that sort of hieroglyphics that are at the bottom of the J rulers that we've been seeing. It's on the spoiled ones as well. And the spoiled ones from Ancient Knights, the actual booster box, have the sealed items. They're not in hieroglyphics. It's just the starter decks. And so it said basically those hieroglyphics are, you can't use that ability. Even if somehow it's leaked that what that ability is, it is not legal to be used until the actual company reveals what it is, and we assume distributes, from what Jordan said, distributes stickers to be stuck onto the card. Or someone put out a good idea, be stuck on the sleeve that the card is in, that way you don't have to ruin the card itself. And so that is just essentially a balancing measure, most likely to keep the cards from being too strong at the moment, or maybe they don't know exactly what they want to do for it, so it's to balance it down the road after certain cards come in. Not sure exactly what the reasoning is behind not having the sealed items out of the gate. It's kind of weird in my opinion, but just has sort of that clarification. But yeah, so that's the sort of gist of the main points of the CR. Like I said, all the little sort of tidbits that are throughout it that are changed as well is mainly just to reflect the new language and settings that I outlined here. So things like how you refer to the field and entities and how that applies to different situations. But once you have the gist of what I just went over, you can probably figure out for yourself how that applies into certain situations. Yeah, and if you guys be sure to subscribe for more Forceable news. Hopefully the Q&As start up again, so we'll get some more news pumping out. Obviously we're still pumping out news, but it's always cool to have those sort of summaries of the Q&As. A lot of fun. But we'll be on the lookout for more news. If you guys want to talk about this, have questions about the CR updates or anything like that, be sure to join our Discord and we can discuss that, as well as decks going forward. We have some cool gameplay videos coming up. I'm pretty excited about pandas actually now. I'm going to be making a panda deck, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys next time.